The first food I ate after labor was bread and tea. Keep listening to Mother and Child on Inspiration 100.5 FM.
My name is Toyosi. I'm mother of one. The first food I ate after labor was pap. Keep listening to Mother and Child on Inspiration FM 100.5.
My name is Larry Olasumbo. I'm a mother of two amazing children, a boy and a girl. The first meal I had after childbirth was one watery white pap that was given 13 hours after surgery. You won't believe that prior to that time, I had no meal since the night before the morning of the surgery. So you can imagine the hunger that hugged me. You needed to see how I gulped the cooler of pap. Keep listening to Mother and Child on Inspiration 100.5 FM.
A wonderful afternoon to you, wherever it is that you're listening to Inspiration 100.5 FM. Welcome to Mother and Child, a program specially designed for mothers and their babies, where we get to talk about issues that affect mothers, their babies, and of course, children. My name is Olasumbo Yusuf, and I'm welcoming you to today's edition of Mother and Child. Today we're going to be talking about tuberculosis in children, TB in children, and fortunately for us, it's also the TB testing week for children in Oyo State. In the studio this afternoon, I have with me Mrs. Ajayi Oluyinka. Of course, she is a professional in the field, and of course, she's here to talk to us about all the activities that are going on. She is the Chief Nursing Officer and, of course, the TB Supervisor for Oluyole local government. Good afternoon, ma'am, and it's good to have you in the studio this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well done.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We'll start by asking the question, what is TB?
Yes, thank you very much. TB is tuberculosis. And tuberculosis is characterized by cough, loss of appetite, chest pain, night sweats, and it's the same diagnosis. It is the same signs and symptoms that we have in adults that we have in children. The only difference is that because a child won't be able to talk, that this is what is wrong. And in most cases, you will not notice the child coughing. The child might not be coughing, the child will just be making sounds. So to make diagnosis in children is difficult.
Okay.
To make diagnosis in adults is easier because the adults, you will see the adults showing the signs and symptoms that I have mentioned. But in the children, 0 to 5 years, it will be difficult to see because you might not see them coughing.
Okay.
And the only thing the mother can just notice is that the child is having high temperature and that the child is not thriving well.
Okay.
So those are the signs that can be easily seen in a child.
Okay. Now, at what age can children be infected with tuberculosis?
It depends. The child can be infected at any time.
Okay.
It depends on the infectiousness of the person that infected the child. If the child's relation, maybe the person that took the delivery or the guardian or the school where the child attends or somebody that is very close to the child has TB, so the child can be infected. In my facility, we have treated a child that was 1 month, and at the end of the day, we saw that the baby was delivered in a local home where the child was infected by the person that took the delivery.
Wow. that leads me to the next question I'm going to be asking you, Mrs. Ajayi.
Yes.
Can parents pass on TB to their children?
Yes, they can pass on TB to their children because they live together. They are together for 24 hours or thereabout. So when the parents are diagnosed and they don't take their children to the hospital to take drugs that will prevent them, there are some preventive drugs that will give to children. If they are not being given, the children can be infected. The child can be infected.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, in case you're just joining us, this is Mother and Child on Inspiration 100.5 FM. We have Mrs. Ajayi in the studio, and of course, she's the Chief Nursing Officer and TB Supervisor for Oluyole Local Government. She's here to talk to us about TB in children. And of course, it is the TB testing week in Oyo State. If you are watching on Facebook, you can see that she's fully kitted, and she's going to be telling us some of the activities that have been going on as regards the TB testing week. But before we get into that, now, can a child infected with TB infect another child?
Yes.
Can they spread this TB?
Yes. TB is highly infectious, highly contagious. So somebody that is not treated will definitely infect others that are in their surrounding. Or
So should
together.
a child that has TB go to school or daycare?
A child that has TB, if the child is on treatment, can go to school. But if the child is not on treatment, it's not advisable because it will infect others. If a person that has TB is not treated appropriately, the person will infect another person, in another 15 people to 20 people in the next few hours, in the next few months. So it is advisable that anyone that is infected with TB be treated appropriately.
Okay. What is tuberculosis in children really called? Is it called tuberculosis in children?
Yes, it is also called TB, tuberculosis in children. And there are two types of tuberculosis.
Okay.
We have the pulmonary tuberculosis that affects the lungs. Then we have extrapulmonary tuberculosis that affects every other organ of the body apart from the lungs. So there are two types of tuberculosis. Yes.
Now, I'd like you to go through the signs and symptoms again. Like you mentioned earlier, that it is very hard to detect when a child has tuberculosis. So when should a mother be worried?
Thank you. A mother should be worried if she notices that the child is not thriving well. A child that has tuberculosis will not thrive well. Assuming the child is like 4 years, you think the child is maybe like 6 months. So that means the child is not thriving well.
Stunt growth.
Yes.
Okay.
The child won't feed well. The child won't be able to play with others. Will be highly irritable. If you look at the child's face, the child will be like an old person. You know, children loves being played with and playing around. But such child won't be able to play around with her colleagues. He or she will sit down because he's really in pain and in difficulties. There will be severe temperature that is more than 2 weeks. The mother should look at it. If the child has been walking before, the child might not be able to walk because of the fatigue and all that. So tuberculosis in children is not easy for a child to produce sputum. But there are some methods that we use in obtaining the sputum samples.
Sorry, what is sputum? For the benefit of somebody listening right now.
Sputum in Yoruba, we call it kelebe.
Okay.
We call it kelebe. It comes out from the mouth or from the nostrils. It is there normally that the Lord has put there to cushion the lungs and the ribs. You know they are nearer.
Yes.
But when it becomes infected, it will come out and it will be more. So that is sputum.
Sputum, okay.
And it is the sputum that we take to the laboratory to be examined.
But for children, you said it's not. They can't produce
the sputum.
So what do you test?
Yes, there are some other methods that we use.
Okay.
There is something we call gastric lavage. A tool is passed into the nostrils, whereby we can collect the sputum, or we do a stool test, or we do a chest X-ray, or we do a mantle test, or we do a clinical test too, a rapid test for a child, whereby we ask the mother questions. And if the questions are positive, then the patient is positive.
Now, how can you prevent tuberculosis in babies, children especially?
Thank you very much. The first advice I will give is that every mother should have their children vaccinated immediately after birth. We should not wait till the following day or the following week, whereby people will come in to visit them. Some people even come in and kiss the babies. Some come and speak to the babies, not knowing that the person might be infected, so the person might infect the child. So the first advice is that all children should be immunized immediately after birth. Then the second one is that if we notice that the parents have TB, they should bring their children to the facilities where they can be given preventive drugs to prevent the children from getting infected.
All right. It's a TB testing week, and
Yes.
I would like to know what has been done in Oyo State in order to save the children and also to educate the children in terms of tuberculosis.
Thank you very much. Last week, we went to different schools
Okay.
in our local governments to inform them that we'll be coming in for the screening. The testing started yesterday. So we started in a primary school yesterday. Today, my people are in the secondary school. Tomorrow we'll be in another secondary school. We'll be in primary school. Then we'll go into orphanages too to check for TB.
And so far that you've been doing the testing week, how has been the turnout of people? Has it been encouraging? What has been your experience on the field?
Yes, that yesterday we went to a primary school. We educated them. We told them what we came to, and the children were willing and they were ready to do the test because they knew we were not giving injection, neither were we giving anything. So when we went in, we demonstrated with one of the teachers that this is what we wanted to do, just palpate and screen them, and they were ready to do it. All of them did it. They cooperated and they did it.
All right. Is TB a preventable disease? Is it curable as well?
Yes, I can say TB is preventable, like I said, if they are vaccinated.
Okay.
Then if all the contacts, if all the indexes are on treatment, it is preventable.
Okay.
Then TB is curable if the person comes out on time and the person completes his or her drugs, his or her dosage.
Okay.
The drug is supposed to be for 6 months. So if the patient completes the treatment, it will be cured.
Okay. Mrs. Ajayi, I will go on a short break now. When we get back, we'll be wrapping up on Mother and Child right here on Inspiration 100.5 FM. Don't forget, if you have questions you'd like to ask, send it via WhatsApp platform 0809 192 1005. You can also drop it on our Facebook page at IFM 1005 IB on Facebook, and we'll definitely treat those questions. Stay tuned.
Oluyole City, Ibadan, Atide. Check us out on 100.5 FM.
bá a dọ́jọ́ ọjọ́ àpé bá a dẹ́gbà ìgbà kò bá a dógún ọdún láyé àpadà kò lánìí àyájọ́ ọdún àwọn èwe tọdún 2023 wọlé dé wẹ́rẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni IFM Children's Day Carnival 2023 lọ́jọ́ àbámẹ́ta òpin ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí ọjọ́ kẹtàdínlọ́gbọ̀n oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2023 láago mẹ́wàá òwúrọ̀ ilé tó gbìnàyà ìròyìn abẹ̀rí ẹ̀yìn èwe iléeṣẹ́ ẹlẹ́yinjú àánú kan ti sanwó ìrànwọ́ lórí àwọn tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì fún àwọn ògo wẹrẹ 1,500 naira fún ìgbà ọmọ àkọ́kọ́ tó bá kọ́kọ́ wọlé sí gbọ̀ngàn níbi tí àríyá ti wáyé èrò mọ́ dà girigiri wá kílẹ̀ tó ń dúró dé gbogbo ọ̀nà ó já sí iléeṣẹ́ Inspiration 100.5 FM ọjọ́ kẹtàdínlọ́gbọ̀n oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2023 ibi tẹ́tì náà láǹfààní láti pàdé àwọn èèyàn bí ọ̀sà plane aláwàdà orí ọ̀fẹ́ sàtó wà ń kalẹ̀ eré ìdárayá àtẹ̀bù lónìrànró wà ní kalẹ̀ àríyá ọdún àwọn ìwé tọdún 2023 ti iléeṣẹ́ IFM àwọn iléeṣẹ́ tó ṣonígbòwó àríyá ìwé tọdún 2023 rẹ̀ double T stop and shop Nature Street Bistro event Elizabeth cakes Divine Kiddies àríyá ìwé tọdún 2023 àìgbọ́dọ̀ mọ́ wà ní.
ó di lamba pa fìbọn yẹ̀rì bí abájá lamba lọ títí kórè ọ̀wẹ́ oní ó lè bá a pọ́n tá a sì làkàkà ká lè bá a tẹ́gbẹ́ tọ́gbà ọmọ tó bá ṣiṣẹ́ déédéé ó yẹ kó lásìkò ìgbádùn. This is your Fagilicious program on Inspiration 100.5 FM tí a pè ní Fàájì Láwà. Orí ètò ilé ti máa gbọ́ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tó dọ́ṣọ̀ àwàdà tó wetí gbọ́ àti orin àgbọ́dúnú lórí ìkànnì yìí ní gbogbo alẹ́ ọjọ́bọ̀ Thursday bẹ̀rẹ̀ látagogo 9 alẹ́ títí dago 10 àṣálẹ́. Má jẹ́ wọ́n ròyìn ẹ̀ fún ọ tọ̀sẹ̀ yìí ó máa wà Fagilicious and Boomba.
100.5 bàbá mi bàbá ọlá àtúwọ̀ lù àwáńdé Inspiration FM ń wọ̀ lù àwáńdé.
Inspiration FM, rédíò àkọ́kọ́ fún gbogbo ẹbí.
Yes, indeed, it is still your number one family radio station, Inspiration 100.5 FM, and we still have Mrs. Ajayi in the studio talking to us about tuberculosis. Now, as we are rounding up this afternoon, I'd like you to go through the signs and symptoms of tuberculosis in children again, and any other thing that mothers, especially new moms, have to look out for in terms of safeguarding their kids from getting TB.
Thank you very much. Like I said, signs and symptoms include cough that is more than 2 weeks. Notice that the child is not thriving well, the child is not feeding well, the child looks tired and worn out. Then the child won't be able to go out and play with the others, will not be able to play with others. Even if the child were to be 1 year old, the child will like to play. Or a child that is infected with TB will not be able to play. Then another thing that we've not talked about is that of the extrapulmonary tuberculosis. Extrapulmonary tuberculosis that affects every other organs of the body apart from the lungs. It can affect the brain, it can affect the bones, the abdomen, the spine, the glands, and all that. So those ones needs to be examined and we treat accordingly. Then another one is the multiple drug resistance. That one is another one, senior one from tuberculosis. A child can also be infected with MDR. We have seen many of them in our facilities. And directly or indirectly, they are being infected by their guardian, their parents, or their colleagues. And these ones too need to be examined at the laboratory. And if the patient is positive for that, we treat adequately. So tuberculosis can't infect anybody. Only the people that are dead cannot be infected. Everybody that is alive can be infected. So the advice that I want to give to parents is, number one, let us make sure we immunize our children immediately after delivery. We should not postpone it till maybe I can't go now, I'll go after naming. Or I can't go now, I'll go in the next 3 days. Even if the mother is weak, maybe she had a C-section, the relation or the caregivers in the hospital can also take the child for immunization. Then another one is if the parents are infected, they should bring their children for drugs that will prevent the children from being infected.
So if the parent is infected, there's a possibility that the child is not infected.
For that time, there might be possibility. Okay. But later, the child might be infected if the child is not placed on preventive drugs. Yes. Okay, so for example, are there special hospitals for, children with tuberculosis or people that, where if you find out that, okay, maybe your cough has lasted for more than 2 weeks, where do you go? Is there a toll-free line? What do you do? Yes, thank you very much. Virtually all the primary health centers in Oyo State has one time or the other been trained on how to treat tuberculosis. But in all the local governments, we have each places that are headquarters for the TB training. We call them TB units.
Okay.
But in other places, we have DOT facilities where people can collect drugs, where they can be tested. But in each of the local governments, we have supervisors that are being trained, especially to do this work. Then we have some government hospitals too, some high-burden sites, state hospitals, mission hospitals, and all that has been trained on management of tuberculosis.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ajayi, for stopping by our studios. And like I asked earlier, is there a toll-free line that people can call, and that they can attend to them, apart from, visiting the healthcare centers?
Yes, there is. For Breakthrough Actions Nigeria, that is supporting TB on here, the toll-free is... I'm coming. I want
Okay,
to check
yes.
on my dress that I'm wearing. It's not on this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's there. The toll free is 3340.
Okay.
So 3340 is the toll free.
Toll free on any
line.
Okay.
Or we can go to any of the local governments primary health centers or any eye boarding sites, any hospital. You can go there for a checkup.
All right, thank you.
And the treatment is free.
Okay.
The diagnosis is free. The treatment and everything is free.
So that was the next question I was going to ask. That if we go to these primary healthcare centers, or if people visit, is the treatment free? Are the drugs free?
Yes.
For both adults and children.
Yes.
And children.
Even the one that is the MDR, the treatment is free. Because that one is more expensive to take care of, because the patient will be on drug for a long time.
Okay.
And all the investigations and all the drugs and all that will be free. So everything is free concerning tuberculosis, because it is a public health hazard issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs.
Thank you
Ajayi, for
very
stopping
much.
by our studios. We hope that if we invite you another time, you would honor our invitation and, of course, come and educate us on our health issues that have to do with children, our mothers, and their babies. It's been a wonderful time on Mother and Child today. Some people have dropped comments on our Facebook page. We have Belo Mutiat saying, well done, kudos to you. Thank you very much. We also have Tumisheara saying, well done. Thank you very much for joining us on Facebook. Till next week, Tuesday, when we will be coming with another edition of Mother and Child. Have yourself a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. And yes, keep listening to Inspiration 100.5 FM. I am Olasumbo Yusuf.